I'd like to maybe kick off a topic here about what it means to have the customer approach. And so it's really around how does this strategy and culture fit into the goal of creating that best customer experience within the client's facilities, within the customers and employees. So Carlos, what do you think?
Yeah, well, first of all, Thinkcurity, the think tank and the future of security. This is really cool. Thank you for having me out here. To me, one of the biggest approaches that I think a company could take, and it doesn't matter if you're a vendor, a third-party security contract company, or if you have your own proprietary security force. What I suggest is that you start with your mission, your goals, and your ideas. Share with them the story of your company and what you really want to get out of it, and focus it on customer service. Now, at the same time, if you're a third-party vendor, I highly suggest you get people inculcated, get them involved with the same ideas and mission of the company that you're working for. Educate them on what they do, educate them on what their mission is, what their goals are. So right away, right from the beginning, you're getting a little bit of sense of what you need to do to make their customer service approach special. And I'll leave it one thing, then I'll pass it over to Rhett. One of the biggest things the Walt Disney Company does right from the beginning, we have this thing called traditions, which was great. You spend a couple of days just learning about the story, the history, and what's going on. But the cool thing about this is that they would put a vice president that's starting their first day, just got hired, sitting right next on the same table with the 16-year-old that coming into their first job as a cash register or in the food and beverage side or just operations, greeting people in the morning. But they would put them together, and together they would learn the history and the mission and the goal, and they would hear stories from people of how amazing it is to be in this field. And so what I suggest right away as one of the first things that you can do, if you could put your vice president, senior leadership on the same room as your first day officers, learning together about what is exciting about customer service approach to what you're going to do in the future, share the storylines of whatever company you work for, including your company, right? And then you keep that at a high level. At every meeting, you're bringing some of that up. Every meeting, you're sharing a story. That keeps people excited. That starts the customer approach to both sides of the house.
Excellent. Carlos, man, you are right on target. Timmy, good to see you again, brother. I think your lead-in was absolutely perfect. Our officers, for the most part, are the face of the organization, right? They're the people that make, and you know, my wife of 40 plus years tells me, you can very rarely overcome a bad first impression. I was able to do it through persistence. However, you know, it doesn't always happen, right? So Carlos is absolutely correct, right? You want ownership, and most importantly, you want understanding of the company goals and missions by everybody, because people aren't going to come find me to ask me a question, right? The folks on the floor are going to find that security officer, and they're going to say, hey, Sam, you know, I just don't get it. Why is this important? And while we're not necessarily empowering the first line officer to be a spokesperson for the company, they need to understand what our feelings and goals and objectives are. For you guys out there, strap in, because this is going to be a great conversation. Carlos, man, back to you and Tim.
Yeah. No, sorry, go ahead, Tim.
So one of the things that I thought was interesting, I do think is interesting, and in understanding the culture really has an effect on a guard's satisfaction, almost, to be able to come to a place where he does know more about the company that he's working for. It doesn't just become a post, it becomes a post of significance. And have you seen anything in terms of how that can help, especially in this world we're living in, where there's a lot of options for people who want to get employed somewhere, when you bring them to a place where they can actually feel like, hey, I'm part of this post, I'm part of the company, I'm just not sitting a post.
Yeah, it's the meaningfulness of it, you know. And I use this little magic thing, which it's quite important on getting that mindset going for the security officer, for, you know, leadership, mid leadership, all the way up through. Which was magic was the kind of your mindset, your approach, the way you kind of carried on your life through your day, through greetings, and then being interested. And the last thing was customer service recovery. And so right away, as you come in, right, you get that first 40 hours that you have to educate folks not only on state kind of laws and regs, but you got to talk about your company as well. I'd focus on those things, and one of the things that I always used on the mindset was that when you believe in a thing, believe in it all the way, implicitly and unquestionably. And that was a little guy by the name of Walt Disney. He used to say that all the time. So if you get the officer's mindset to believe in what you're doing right away, right? Unquestionably, they're in it. They're in it to win it now, because at a certain time in life, in our careers, money is not everything. And the important piece, if I believe in something strongly enough, I'll push for it, and I'll fight for it, and I'll scratch for it, and I make great things happen to everybody. So mindset was one of the first ones that said, hey, focus on that. Let's get that going first, and then we move on to something else.
Yeah, that's so true. So true. Definitely.
Yeah.
And and we'll probably talk a little bit about this, but the idea of being able to have your officers make conversation with incoming folks creates a dual thing, right? So the more you can converse with people, the more you can identify potential behaviors that might be out of the norm, right? And that's something I found, when talking to clients and talking to people in the industry, is saying, the power of a conversation can really unveil whether there is a potential threat, whether there's someone in distress that can't say anything. And so I think, learning that kind of skill is so powerful. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, how many times, we should educate that. By the way, you got to go above and beyond, right? So if you're telling a security officer that your job at a gate is just to make sure that people have the access to get into that gate, then I think we're not doing enough, not only for ourselves, but the clients. So your approach is failing, because I use that as an opportunity for my officer to make eye contact with everyone, right? Give them that awesome greeting. I used to tell people all the time, if you're just saying hello to them as they come into your gate, you fail. Let's say you work for a hotel or a resort, and your guard force happens to work at, let's call it the Polynesian Hotel, right? And your greeting in that morning is not aloha, welcome to paradise, right? You're missing the customer service approach instead of just saying hello. But that also gives you more time to look inside their vehicle. See if there's anything strange going on inside their vehicle, to maybe be able to smell something that might be coming out of the vehicle, which is different than the norm, right? It gives the guard an opportunity to see a lot of other things, to get some kind of communication with the guests. Let the guests know that they're in the right place and they're going to be loved and taken care of while they're here. But same thing with somebody that works there, right? If you say to somebody that, I don't know, cleans the rooms every single day when they come in, aloha, great to see you again, welcome to paradise, that also starts changing. Even the folks that work there starts changing their own minds. So that's kind of an idea. What do you think, Rhett?
Oh man, you just unpacked a couple of things. One is, is if we set the right standard early on, our team members will follow, whoever they are. Our partners, our guests, our cross-functional partners, our visitors, right? Because they just see that positive example. One of the other things that struck me when Tim was talking is that I always try to reach out at whatever level I happen to be at to the new hire class, right? The new security officers on campus. I try to let them know that they're valued. I try to let them know that they're important. I also try to let them know that they represent the total organization. And if we get people from all walks of life, right? We want military folks because their time management skills and their execution is exemplary. We want people from the law enforcement and the industrial security community because of their skill sets. But what I try to tell the officers is, if the only time you're interacting with someone outside of security is to give them a verbal beat down and tell them how they're not doing things correctly, you've lost the audience. They're never going to come to you. I had a guy in Germany that had his kids at boarding school, right? And he said, Rhett, my kids haven't talked to me since I was 12. They tell their headmasters everything, but I see your 3 girls will tell you and Katrina everything. And I said, look, man, if you don't build those relationships early, they're never going to come to you with the big things. So I think our security team needs to be conversational to the almost to the point of annoying, right? That Disney-esque kind of feeling. That doesn't mean that they still aren't great security professionals, because they are. But like you said, they're value added. They're doing something for the logistics team. They're doing something for the facilities team. They're doing something for, you know, the C-suite guys that see them every day. But they have to be approachable, and that's sometimes hard to teach, but it's easy to mirror. So if you get your 3 or 4 informal leaders and they're doing it right every day, they're doing it at the briefings, they're doing it at guard mount, they're doing it at shift change, the other team members will come along pretty quickly. Tim?
Yeah, I mean, this is so critical, and it's a